I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Board of Education to order at this time. I will inform the audience that we did hold an executive session at 6:30 p.m. this evening for the purpose of discussing a legal matter and a personnel matter. At this time, would you please rise and join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mrs. Glacier, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Mrs. Eldridge. Present. Mr. Hauser.
Here.
Mrs. Kozak. Here. Dr. Laughlin. Here. Mrs. Haynes.
Here.
Mr. Muller.
Here.
Mr. Music.
Here.
Mr. Palmer.
Here.
Dr. Silver.
Present.
Thank you, Mrs. Glacier. This part of the agenda is called Hearing of Visitors Part 1. If anyone in the audience wishes to address the board about anything on tonight's agenda that we will be voting on, please approach the podium and state your name and address. Okay, seeing none, I will move for the adoption of resolution number 136, the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held January 21st and the committee of the whole meeting held February the 11th.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We approve resolution number 136. All those in any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously. Solicitors report, Mr. Nichols.
No report, Madam President.
Thank you. Legislative report, Dr. Laughlin.
The state is giving districts an extra week for PSSA testing. They've also said that schools could add 20 minutes to the school days to try to not extend into the summer and convert scheduled half days to full, but that children everywhere need not worry. State law prohibits Saturdays going to schools. The legislation also proposed the getting rid of the school tax again, and would raise, and in this proposal would raise state personal income tax from 3 to 4%, raise state tax from 6 to 7%. But they would also, in that 7%, include clothes and shoes that are not on there now, non-prescription medications, and all food that's not part of the WIC program, the Women, Infants, and Children program. They would also get rid of the exemptions that now we have on dry cleaning, amusement park, newspaper, magazine, flags, and the one that bothered me the most was funeral expenses. So that will be taxed now, that isn't taxed. And Corbett this week proposed using taxpayer monies to help low-income families in underperforming schools to send their kids to public, private, or parochial schools of their choice. The bottom 5% of schools would be eligible for vouchers. And then right under that is a review of major studies on school voucher programs concludes that vouchers have not strongly affected student achievement, and the rhetoric used to support these vouchers has shifted over the past 10 years.
I'd like to know what 20 minutes a day is going to do, or maybe not that.
I think that the thought process was that they would go to hours versus days, and so therefore if you added increments of 20 minutes, you could make up the hours that you missed versus the days. I haven't heard of anyone moving in that direction.
I can't imagine that stuff activities after school being viable.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Education and Planning, I will move for adoption of resolution number 137 to approve the course changes and additions for the 2014-2015 school year.
Second.
Thank you. These are what Mr. Locascio and Mr. Kralik talked to us about last week. Does anyone have any discussion or comments, questions? All those in favor, then please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And those pass unanimously. I move for adoption of resolution number 138, the revision to the 2013-2014 school calendar that adds, that extends the year due to the snow days. you. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 138. Any questions or discussion? All those in
What's changed to graduation day?
Graduation day is June 11th, right, and it will stay.
We'll stay.
Isn't it the 12th? 12th.
It's the 11th and the 12th is the rain date.
12th is the rain date.
It's a Wednesday, June 11th is the date that it's scheduled for. Because the students are interested in it being outside, they wanted a rain date scheduled, so there is a rain date of the Thursday, June 12th.
Does this impact the last day for seniors?
Yes.
It does, yes, as far as the last student.
Or their last day?
Their last day of instruction, well, they'll have practice Monday and Tuesday before graduation. So the last day of instruction will be Friday before, will be that's June 7th. And they'll have the 9th and 10th for practice, those are half days. And actually the Friday will be a half day for them as well. It's actually moving up days.
So we'll have enough days of construction to make the state regulations?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor then please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously. I will move for adoption of resolution number 139 to approve the Westmoreland County Student Assistant Program Agreement for the 2014-2015 school year.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 139. Any discussion or questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously. And I will, I'm going to bundle 140 and 141. 140 being permission, we're giving permission to Mrs. Lisa Baldiani Smith, a junior high school teacher, to solicit participants in a doctoral dissertation research study. And with 141, permission to host the PMEA District Band Festival in January 2015. So moved on both of those.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion on either motion?
What kind of research study?
She was here last week and talked
I
about
hear
it.
that.
Yeah, it's a, go ahead.
It's a qualitative study that she is doing that is to research why students want to write. It is a small group, a selection of 7 students that she would do randomly through the high school, and it's done through an interview process. So that's what she was asking the board for permission.
Well done, because when she described it, oh,
Yeah.
she used the word phenomenological.
Numerous times.
Is that a disease or?
Felt like it when she was done.
I had heard it twice, so I had the
Oh, you
heard
have
it
it.
twice, so that's what I was able to put that out.
That just describes it.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion? All those in favor then of approving 140 and 141, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And they pass unanimously. Thank you. And finance with Mrs. Albert.
Thank you. I'd like to put together resolution number 142 to approve the treasurer's report and resolution number 143 to approve the payment of bills dated February 12th and move for their adoption.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 143 and resolution number 142. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor then please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And they pass unanimously.
Thank you. Move for adoption of resolution number 144, acceptance of gifts, grants, and donations. To accept a grant from the Bagley PTO on behalf of the George R. and Janet E. Desco Charitable Foundation, $5,000 directed to instructional needs, and the Pittsburgh section, I don't know what those letters stand for, but $500 directed to a 3rd grade field trip, and the Mountain View PTO, $1,268.53 directed directed to cafeteria improvements. And move for the, taking of those funds, and to thank the entities that are making the donations. Thanks, sir.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt resolution number 144. Any other questions, discussion on the motion?
Yeah, Mrs. Pellis or Scott, do you guys know what the improvements are?
We got the PA system in the cafeteria so that now we can have any type of class meetings, that sort of thing, during our quiet lunchtime. We can go in and speak to the students, or if we need to have a meeting, we can have it in there. So now we have, I think there's a mic and the speakers.
So window tuning too.
Window tuning is separate. I think this was all the, yeah.
Other questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It's passed unanimously.
Move for adoption of resolution number 145 to award the E-rate telecommunications contract as listed on your agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 145. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously.
And the finance committee meeting, I don't know if it's rescheduled. I think we just canceled the one in February, and we're going to try again March 5th. We understand that there's no polar vortex that's going to hit that day, but there might be. We're told. So
First week of March, you're going to try that.
Merle made the point beforehand that all this is getting to be a lot like Groundhog Day.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Elder. Property and supply, Mrs. Kozar.
Thank you, Mrs. Mays. I move for the adoption of resolution number 146, permission for the student project at Bagley Elementary School. That was the project that Amy O'Hearn came and spoke to us about last week, about setting up the structure.
It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 146. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 147 to recommend the approval of the athletic wellness project change orders to the Greater Latrobe School Authority as listed.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 147. Any questions or comments on this? We heard about those last week. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That's passed unanimously also.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 148 to authorize the facilities assessment of the Latrobe Elementary School.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 148. Questions or comments on the motion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 149 to approve an asbestos study at Latrobe Elementary School.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 149. Any questions or comments on that motion?
No, this might have been discussed last week when I was there, but when this school was remodeled, wasn't asbestos removal part of that?
This building, or this, we're talking about LES?
LES.
Yes.
No, not all of it was removed. Piping, I can't, that's why we're doing this study. I don't know what, I mean.
What's the scope of the study? What's the plan? Is it
This is just the assessment study. We don't know what's there yet. So it's part of the facilities assessment. We're doing the whole facility.
We're required to have, we talk about asbestos now.
Mm-hmm.
We're required, I mean, they have done testing, and you have to do a 3-year test, but they did not do a thorough one where they took samples throughout the building of plaster and things like that. So this was going to be a very in-depth sampling.
Is there a concern if there's a problem with asbestos in that building? Or?
No, not this time. This is just part of that assessment of the
I
building.
understand. Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously.
And you can also see that there's a 2014-15 school general supply bid opening attachment. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mrs. Cozart. Student activities and recreation, Dr. Laughlin.
You all received the Latrobe Hockey Senior Night invitation. That will be Monday, February 24th at Kirkland.
Thank you. Community relations, Dr. Zorch.
I have no report, but I noticed we had a scout attending tonight, so we'll say hello. Thanks for coming. Is this part of your project?
Yep.
All right. Where are you a scout at?
Where was got at? Wendover.
Wendover. Thanks for coming.
He attends Mountain View Elementary, but his scout, he's a member of Troop 416 that happens to be in Wendover.
All right. Thanks for coming. Good seeing you.
Thank you, Dr. Zorch. EWCTC Joint Operating Committee, Mrs. Cozart.
No report.
Thank you. Westmoreland Intermediate Unit, I will move for adoption of resolution number 150 to authorize participation in Westmoreland Intermediate Unit Joint Purchasing Consortium for multi-purpose paper for the 2014-2015 school year.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt that resolution. Any questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously. We're going to table resolution number 151 because the budgets from the IU just arrived today, and so Dan's going to get them out to everybody, and we'll do this in March. We'll get over and we'll discuss it in March.
I was going to request, pursuant to the previous motion, could we not do the IU budget printed on all that paper? Could we get it?
It's available on here right now for attachment. And got it meantime.
Yeah, I'm just worried that we'll also print it.
I won't print it, no. It'll be available electronically.
Good.
So please take a look at the attachment and we'll discuss it in March. We can either pass it in February, March, or April, so we have plenty of time.
We just bought the paper, Ted.
That paper.
We're good to go. It's in the budget.
Well, the good news about that would be that we know where we can recycle the paper down.
There you go. Call up Amy, she has a truck.
So we'll discuss that in March. And that ends my report on the WIU, and we'll move to board policy PSB liaison, Mrs. Elbert.
Thank you. I'll move for adoption of resolution number 152, the intent to adopt, i.e. the first reading of revisions to board policies number 610, purchases, subject to bid quotation, and number 611, purchases budgeted. And the attachments are there. Move for adoption of that resolution.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded. We adopt resolution number 152. Questions or comments? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously.
And there will be a policy committee meeting next Thursday, the 27th, at 9:30 a.m. to review PSBA suggested changes to the board policy manual.
Thank you.
That's it.
And you have another resolution.
Oh, I had another one. I'm sorry. And that one's so important. I move for adoption of resolution number 153 to appoint a district civil rights coordinator.
What is that?
I'll second,
Someone Georgia parades with posters about civil rights.
Something that every district does have to have, and upon research, Jan researched and wanted to know who the civil rights officer was, and typically it is the individual that deals with personnel. So
So if the individual feels that their rights are being
a procedure set up where they can make by policy, they can make a confidential report. It then goes through board policy, explains an investigative process, findings and steps you take there. And so,
But doesn't that fall into the personnel job anyway?
yes,
We don't discriminate anyway, right?
right.
No,
The point is, if someone feels that they've been discriminated against for any reason, they write the name of somebody besides the superintendent. In the past, it's always been the superintendent is at the top of that pyramid.
It's what also creates your safe harbor, where you're acting, like for any sort of civil rights thing, where you're acting reasonably and investigating the policy. The policy is part of the safe harbor, and successfully carrying out and promptly carrying out the policy gives you the safe harbor. For example, if something bad was going on with an employee that was never brought to our attention, is suddenly brought to our attention, we create the safe harbor by doing a thorough and immediate investigation pursuant to a policy.
Doesn't include a payment for anything.
No, I wasn't worried about that. No. I
I
thought
said
the
people like it.
HR part was covering the HR part of the personnel part.
It is.
There's no safe harbor in that, right?
Yeah, this is required by law, separate apart from that. Obviously, any other complaints or anything like that would go to Georgia, and actually complaints for like harassment and things like that. We have another policy set up for that.
Right.
Same situation.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor? Yeah, Dr. George, you wanted to know about it, so he seconded. All those in favor, then please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously.
Congratulations on
Yes,
that.
great. We expect a report every month. Transportation, Mr. Music.
Thank you. I have no report tonight, however, I'd like to thank Mark, the bus lines, and our bus drivers for the efforts that you put forth this year in getting our kids to school safely. All year. They've done a great job.
And on that note, I'd like to expand maybe. I think it's important that the community knows a piece of this, that how hard the Unity Township this winter has worked with us in these days. I mean, when I saw on the news today that we have 60 inches of snow basically already this year, we averaged 28, it makes you realize it is 3 or 4 times as bad as normal. And I know the winter's not over because my favorite meteorologist on my left there is telling me it's not over yet. But for example, the day where they called for 1 inch and we got 6 while we were in school, everyone knows the salt's rationing right now. But Unity Township, truly, honestly, is working hand in hand with us. They called, they had enough for 1 run left. They asked what we were going to do, when does our buses start to roll. They timed their run to be 1 hour ahead so the salt would activate and make roads slushy that day. And they stayed with our buses to get them all home. They led a bus this morning down out of the ridge on a state road, actually, to help them down out of the ridge up on Youngstown Ridge with one of their township trucks. This morning, Mr. O'Gara and Mr. Mylan called, told me they had enough for 2 runs. They wanted to know when each building was in. I had to keep calling them. And Mrs. Swagger and I had talked to him this morning about staying out with our buses this morning because we knew if we could get them in, the sun was coming at noon, and it would be fine this afternoon. So I confirmed with the supervisors that each building checked in, and they stayed out with their trucks circling to try to make sure everyone got in. And this is, I know that we can say it's their job, so to speak, but I think the way they're doing it is going above and beyond their job. And I know they have kids in the school, and I get all that, but I think they're working as hard as we are to get them in and get them home safe and try to get through this year. And it has been my hardest year in 7. It's been everyone's hardest year in the last 7 years of doing this. But I just thought the drivers have done a great job. DMJ went out for the first time on chains for their vans. I mean, everything's being adjusted to try to make it work. And I'm glad that Mr. Music brought that up because sometimes you have to say thanks. And then those guys, my job's stressful enough, but at least if you know they're out there calling and everyone's helping you, it sure makes it a lot more achievable. Sleep would be nice. It is a
Spring sport.
Oh.
Spring sport.
Yeah, but Mr. Main said we're not getting spring.
And he would know.
He knows. Come on.
next tech meeting is March 11th here at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fuller. Superintendent's recommendations, Mrs. Swider.
I'd ask the board to approve resolution number 154, which are the resignations listed. I'm sorry, there's some on the second page.
Second page.
Ray Kern, Luke Bassiano, and Thomas Turnbull, the third, as the assistant baseball coach.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded, we adopt resolution number 154. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? It passes unanimously.
I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 155, which is the support personnel appointments. For those people in the audience who have a paper agenda, there is a blank beside head football coach. That name should be Jason Maruco. I think for the board members, it's already been added to your agenda. I'd ask that the board move on that motion.
It's been moved and seconded, we adopt resolution number 155. Any questions or discussion?
I don't think you have a name for the head soccer coach.
Thomas Kennedy, it should be on the agenda. I think it is on the printed agenda, Thomas Kennedy for the soccer coach. Yes, it was already on there. I think the only one that's missing from the public is the Jason Maruco.
Since there was no name on the agenda when I asked for hearing of visitors part 1 for the head football coach, if anyone would like to have a comment on that, please approach the podium now. Okay, seeing none, we did get a motion in a second. It has been moved and seconded, we adopt resolution number 155. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? That passes unanimously.
And I'd ask the board to move on resolution number 156, which is the list of substitute teachers.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded, we adopt resolution number 156. Any questions or comments on that one? All those in favor then please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? And that passes unanimously.
And under other business, the Breakfast of Champions is this Thursday at 7:30 in the senior high school faculty dining room. The school musical has been advertised. You probably have seen it in the paper, Little Shop of Horrors. It's on Friday and Saturday, March 7th and 8th. If you're interested in attending, please see Mrs. Lazier before you leave this evening. And last is the Senior High School Classics Concert, which is held at the St. Vincent Basilica. And I know people that have gone in the past have spoken what a wonderful event it is. It is Sunday afternoon, March 23rd, and it is free. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Swider. It's now time for hearing of visitors part 2. If anyone in the audience would like to address the board on any matter, please approach the podium and state your name and address. Seeing no one, any other business to come before the board this evening? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you for your time this evening.